What is up, guys? Rick Hackus here, and in today's video we are discussing one of the biggest stories in gaming right now, and that simply is the absolutely insane amount of dislikes on the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare reveal trailer. Now, at the time of making this commentary, it has just reached over 1 million dislikes, and a long time ago it had already claimed the dubious title of being the most disliked gaming video on all of YouTube. That is absolutely insane, but is the amount of hate for Infinite Warfare really this high? Or is the dislike ratio kind of misleading? Well, I think that's the case, and that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. But I want to make a few points. Firstly, I am not trying to convince you guys that everyone secretly loves Infinite Warfare. I think that's pretty clearly not the case. Secondly, I am in no way saying that people are wrong for disliking this video. There's several extremely legitimate reasons for disliking, this video about Infinite Warfare. And thirdly, I'm not really just adding my 2 cents to this story. I've seen absolutely everyone report that this is happening, but almost no one talk about really why this is happening. I feel that this video will add an interesting element of discussion to this ongoing conversation, and that's why I'm making it. And I've actually, I consider myself a Call of Duty fan. Although I don't post a ton of Call of Duty content on my channel right now, I've posted content in the past, and my god, did I play a lot of Call of Duty in the past. I played the absolute hell out of the original, Modern Warfare, out of World at War, out of Modern Warfare 2, but as time went on, I kind of fell out of love with the franchise. I think that kind of is indicative of what you see a lot of the community members feeling right now with Call of Duty. So, my perspective on this is actually kind of the same perspective of a lot of other people disliking this video, that they used to love Call of Duty but have kind of fallen out of love with the series as time has gone on. But again, I still feel like that dislike ratio, like the number of dislikes, is a little misleading. Why? Well, let's talk about it. Firstly, the main reason, and I think this has been the main reason ever since the dislike ratio was getting close to 50%, this was a reason that really pushed it over and has kept it going strong ever since. And that really is just kind of a phenomenon that is a combination of several different psychological effects, such as groupthink and de-individualization, but basically it kind of boils down to people are disliking this video for the sake of disliking this video. I think a lot of people, I think it's very fair to say that a lot of people who are disliking this video are simply doing so that that number can reach as high as possible. A lot of people disliking were just trying to get 1 million, and now that 1 million is achieved, I've already seen comments made on that trailer saying, okay, we achieved 1 million, now the goal is 6 million, which is the most disliked video, which is the Justin Bieber baby video. So people are trying to reach these crazy goals, and again, the reason they're disliking is because this is part of a huge event right now. This is the craziest thing I have seen in a long time on YouTube. And heck, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I want to dislike the video. I actually want to dislike this video just to be a part of the craziness that's going on right now. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat. They're disliking the video to be a part of this craziness. They're not actually disliking because they, specifically dislike Infinite Warfare. They're disliking for the sake of disliking. I think that is a huge phenomenon, and that contributes to a ton of the dislikes that we're seeing, especially right now. Now, that's one reason, and I think it is one of the main reasons the dislike ratio is so high and the amount of pure dislikes is so high. Again, I've seen people, say that they've made 5+ accounts just to dislike the video 5 times, right? The craziness that is going on with the dislikes ratio is very obvious, but, the dislikes started for another reason, right? They didn't start off small, they started growing right away. And that reason is because I would point it out to the boots on the ground movement within the Call of Duty community. Now, this boots on the ground movement is an extremely legitimate movement. I actually would probably, if I was, asked to make my perfect Call of Duty, I would probably end up going with boots on the ground. Now, for those of you unaware, boots on the ground within the Call of Duty community simply refers to kind of people's distaste for the, futuristic, frankly, circle jerk that Call of Duty has going on right now. I think, that scene from SpongeBob where Squidward gets teleported into the future and he's like, future! That honestly seems like Call of Duty right now. That seems like Activision right now. It's all about future warfare. And a lot of people have kind of been getting sick of this. And additionally, boots on the ground often, specifically when you're talking about boots on the ground, that refers to, in the Call of Duty community, talking about movement mechanics. People don't like the booster jumping, thruster jumping, wall running. They want to go back to the traditional, again, boots on the ground movement mechanics that were present in the original Modern Warfare series, for example, like Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. Now again, this opinion is extremely legitimate, and I even fall into part of this category. However, I feel like the boots on the ground people complaining about Infinite Warfare is definitely, in my opinion, unfair. And the simple reason being is just you have to look at the timeline of when this game was developed. Who is developing this game right now? Infinity Ward, alright? What was their last game? Call of Duty Ghosts. Can you think of a game that was more boots on the ground than Call of Duty Ghosts? Like, I'm sorry, but Call of Duty Ghosts was the epitome of what the boots on the ground people are asking for. The movement mechanics were extremely basic. It was more gritty. It was definitely more realistic than what we're getting right now with the futuristic games. And yet, Ghosts is considered by most of the community, including myself, to be bloody awful. And it's one of the most disliked, and I think actually statistically, the worst reviewed Call of Duty of pretty much all time, I think, or just the modern ones. Since Call of Duty 4, it's the worst reviewed. So clearly, Ghost came out, and it did have a lot of the elements of what the boots on the ground people were asking for, and yet it was hated. So can you blame Infinity Ward for wanting to switch it up? And in fact, the boots on the ground movement really only recently came about halfway through Advanced Warfare's lifespan. People saw Advanced Warfare, they really didn't like the movement system, the thruster jumping mechanics, that really ruined a lot of gunfights. That was a lot of people's opinions. And so then this kind of boots on the ground movement started, and it really kind of grew even more so when Black Ops 3 was also doing a non-traditional movement mechanic system. And so when this all happened, when the boots on the ground thing was all happening, was getting extremely relevant, guys, Infinite Warfare was deep into development. This game has been in development for like 3 years. And so, for people to say, oh, they're not listening to us, Activision and Infinity Ward aren't listening to us, guys, they are listening. I guarantee you the next Call of Duty will probably be boots on the ground. But this one, when the boots on the ground thing was becoming an issue, when the community started to ask for this game is a year and a half in development. The studio isn't going to throw away a year and a half worth of work. They just aren't. So it's kind of unrealistic to ask them for this, because again, their last game was very boots on the ground, and everyone hated it for more reasons than boots on the ground, so they try to switch it up like crazy to do something completely different, and then everyone hates them for that. So I think that is a little unfair. Again, I'm not saying that having the opinion that Call of Duty should be boots on the ground when referring to gameplay and movement mechanics and disliking the future settings, I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate opinion to have, and in fact, I myself, actually have that opinion. However, I think it is kind of an unfair thing to criticize Infinite Warfare on, again, as of laid out, when you look at the development cycle and when you look at what Infinity Ward experienced with Ghosts, so you can kind of understand why they went for something completely different. Now, speaking of a legitimate opinion to have, another main factor that contributed to the amount of dislikes that this video got was all of the people who are mad at Activision in the Call of Duty community right now. And a lot of people are a lot of Call of Duty fans are very, very upset at Activision right now, all really to do with Black Ops 3 and supply drops. Now, for those of you unaware, simply what this is that finally, Call of Duty put DLC weapons into the game, and actually didn't even charge for them, they just put them free into the game. Now you're probably thinking, how are people upset about this? This sounds awesome. Well, unfortunately, the only way to get these weapons, you can't buy them, there's no option to buy them, the only way to get these weapons is through supply drops. Now you can buy COD points for money and use the COD points to buy supply drops, and then when you open these supply drops you have a chance to get these DLC weapons that obviously everyone wants. Unfortunately, the chances, good old Activision, are only about 1%. So 1% chance to get the weapons that you actually want out of these supply drops. The rest of the stuff is like calling cards and some neat camos, but just stuff that you're not really looking for compared to, heck, they just add the FAMAS assault rifle into the game, so you get a completely new assault rifle, or a fucking camo with, a guy giving the thumbs up. Who gives a shit, right? Or a calling card, or whatever it's called. Who gives a shit about that? Or a reticle. You want the new assault rifle, for Christ's sake. And so obviously people are very, very upset with this, completely legitimately upset by this. This is basically, plenty of people have called this, underage gambling, pay to win. People are not happy about what's going on with the supply drops. And it is an extremely douchey thing to do. Weapon DLC really spices up the game, really increases the longevity of your game and makes the fans happy, and yet you're locking this away, in this crazy RNG. People have spent over $1,700 just opening supply drops and haven't gotten the weapons they're looking for. That tells you how crazy it is right now. So obviously people very, very upset by that, and they're taking this anger out on Infinite Warfare, even though if you're thinking, well, does Infinite Warfare have supply drops? Well, it may, but that's not been confirmed. It may not have supply drops at all, right? But people are still upset, and they're taking this anger out. They're kind of, a big middle finger to Activision, understandably, in this trailer. So they're disliking the trailer. Nothing to do with Infinite Warfare, simply because they're upset at Activision in general. And I think, honestly, considering how many, people are covering this story, how insane this has gotten, I think Activision has gotten the fucking message. But again, when you look at this at the point of view of, is this indicative of hate towards Infinite Warfare itself? No, not really, right? People are just upset at Activision and may kind of think Infinite Warfare looks cool, but they hit that dislike button just because it's a fuck you to Activision. And again, that totally makes sense, but it does take away from what is actually the amount of hate for Infinite Warfare. And finally, the last reason I want to go over as to why the dislikes are so high has to do with Modern Warfare Remastered. Now that may sound a little weird because the community has been dying for a Modern Warfare Remastered for a very long time. Heck, when I saw this, I was legitimately excited. When I watched the trailer, I was hyped for the last 15 seconds when it re-showed, Price with the cigar in the chopper when the SAS are rappelling down the chopper on the deck of the ship. Fuck yes, that is what I want a remade Modern Warfare so badly, but people are upset about the fact that the only way announced right now, and they may change this later on due to the pressure they're getting, right now and from these dislikes, but the only way announced right now that you can get Modern Warfare Remastered is to buy the Legacy Edition for $80 that includes Infinite Warfare. Now, for me, I'm gonna buy Infinite Warfare regardless. I always buy the Call of Duty. Heck, I'm a YouTuber. I'm a gaming YouTuber, so if Infinite Warfare is actually good, sweet. There's nothing better than a good COD, and that's why people are so passionate about Call of Duty, because they remember the COD that they like the most, and it was so much fun, right? And so if Infinite Warfare is amazing, that's great for me. Heck, I'll cover it. But most people, obviously most of you, are not in the same position and maybe just want Modern Warfare Remastered. Don't give a shit about Infinite Warfare and actually probably haven't bought a Call of Duty for a long time. There's a ton of people who, haven't been buying Call of Duties, haven't been buying the last 4+ Call of Duties, but still have that nostalgic love for Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and want the remastered version, but now they have to buy this new Call of Duty. Now they have to shell out $80 to get, what they only want is $20 worth of games. So they're shelling out, a $60 that they don't really care about. They're probably not even going to play Infinite Warfare or just try it for a bit and say this is crazy and go back to Modern Warfare Remastered. So again, a lot of people are very upset that they only want Modern Warfare but the only way to get it is to buy Infinite Warfare as well. Now, the reason that this is the case, I don't even really have to explain why this is the case. It's very obvious. Activision wants to have super high unit sales, right? So they're just tacking on. So you're going to get people who only care about Infinite Warfare, and you're going to get people who only care about Modern Warfare Remastered buying the same thing, right? So it totally works out for Activision. But it is totally unfair for the people who aren't interested in Infinite Warfare. The right thing to do, the moral thing to do for Activision would be to sell Modern Warfare Remastered for around $30–$35 and then say, look, if you want to buy it on itself, you know, it's $30. It's a little more expensive. If you buy this Legacy Edition, it's only $20 technically. The other $60 is Infinite Warfare. So you save money if you're interested in buying both by buying the Legacy Edition. If you're only interested in Modern Warfare, it's a little bit more money. And again, you got to look at it from the company's perspective. Of course, they're probably going to do that because they're probably going to try to ship the unit sales of the package, obviously. But that would be the fair thing to do. And I think a lot of people would be totally understanding of that. I think most of you watching this video, you know, you can leave in the comments and say that, yeah, that would be totally fair. I would buy Modern Warfare Remastered for $30–$35 so I don't have to spend $80 on the whole package. That would be the moral, that would be the right thing to do. But we'll have to see whether Activision actually does that, because as it stands now, the only way to get it is that $80. So again, we go back to the dislikes. Are the dislikes indicative of the hate towards Infinite Warfare? And again, this reason really isn't. People who do not care about Infinite Warfare at all, who are not interested in the game at all, are just upset that they have to buy it because it's bundled in this package. And so again, those dislikes, that hate, isn't really addressed towards Infinite Warfare. It's addressed, again, towards Activision, towards the way that they've bundled their products. So, the video is wrapping up, but really the point I wanted to get across is that right now what is happening, this is an unprecedented event. You know, in a matter of days, we have the most disliked gaming video on all of YouTube. That is crazy. Nothing like this has ever happened before. However, the amount of perceived hate, if you would just look at this trailer, is simply not indicative, from the reasons that I've brought up in this video, of the actual hate from the community towards Infinite Warfare. And some of the hate is kind of unfounded when specifically looking at Infinite Warfare. However, again, the reasons people are disliking are extremely legitimate. Heck, when I was talking about supply jobs, I got heated. I might go dislike the video right now because I think those microtransactions, I think supply jobs are fucking bullshit. I would be back playing Black Ops 3 if someone from Activision is watching. I would be back on Black Ops 3 tomorrow if I could actually get those new weapons in a not fucking stupid sort of way. But I can't. Like, there's no point. Logically and statistically, there's no way I'm getting the weapons I want. If I could actually get the FAMAS, I'd be back on playing Black Ops 3, but I fucking can't. So again, my point is this. Very legitimate reasons people are disliking this video, but it's just kind of a culmination of a ton of things. You have the boots on the ground movement, you have the people that are pissed at microtransactions, you have the people that are just doing it for shits and giggles, and Call of Duty is often made fun of within the gaming community, all culminating into one giant clusterfuck. And that's what's happening right now. But will this hate actually translate onto Infinite Warfare itself? Will the pre-orders be the lowest they've ever been? We'll have to see, but I don't think so. Now that's going to be it for the video. Thanks for watching, especially if you've made it all the way to this point. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, and if you agree with what I'm saying, help spread the word by simply rating or sharing this video. Now if you want to see more gaming content from me, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.